These are the top warning signs that you have to watch out for that would indicate you should not be fasting. Hey Wellness Warrior, I'm Dr. Nick Zyrowski, and though fasting is something that's very impressive for our health span and our longevity, one of the things that we have to watch out for is indicators and symptoms that would tell us, hey, right now is not a good time to fast. We need to take a step back from fasting and just focus on our health. So we're going to jump right in and we'll talk about what all of these things mean to us and what we should do, and then what to do when fasting no longer works. You're fasting for a long time, you're like, hey, I plateaued. It doesn't even offer me any benefit anymore. What do I do? We'll talk about that at the end. First, let's talk about muscle loss. So let's say you're doing a lot of fasting. You're pushing the limits. You're doing these extended 3-day fasts, 1 meal a day, all the things, right? And you start to lose lean muscle mass. Well, this is going to be an indicator that you should take a step back from fasting. One, you can just fast a little bit less, or the other thing that you should watch out for and make sure you're paying attention to is your nutrition, because I find that many people are not consuming enough protein. This is probably the #1 thing that I have to tweak in people's lifestyles is their protein intake, and especially women, because women tend to fall into the category of, hey, I just have that big salad for lunch and that big salad for dinner, and I'm happy with that, and I'm trying to watch my figure. If you're not getting enough protein, you're going to have issues with muscle loss. You can have all kinds of fatigue issues. So we want to make sure we're getting enough protein. If you don't know how much you should be consuming, this is what I like to use as a quick factor: 0.8 times your ideal body weight. And ideal body weight means that if you're 20 pounds overweight, then you're going to basically subtract 20 pounds from where you're currently at. So 0.8 times ideal body weight, that will give you how many grams of protein you should be roughly eating. So if you have that muscle loss, take a step back from fasting, dial in nutrition, go back at it. The next is stress and fatigue. When we are in a state of chronic stress, this isn't good. Our body doesn't handle this well. Our body handles intermittent stress very well. It's good for us. Heck, that's what fasting is. It's an intermittent stressor that improves our overall health. However, if you combine chronic stress from daily life with more stress from fasting, that just breaks us down. It's not good. And what happens is that you get locked in a stress state. And how would you know if you're locked in a stress state and you can't get out? Well, you're going to have symptoms like this: insomnia, anxiety, you're very reactive, you can't wind down at all, you're speaking really quickly, you also can find yourself holding your breath, and your mind is racing and you can't make it stop. So therefore, if you fall into this category where you are chronically stressed, take a step back and focus on doing some, exercise, some box breathing, some mindful meditation. You're trying to break that cycle, calm down. And of course, if you're overworked, then you have to make sure that you take a step back from that and just try to find some balance in your life too. Because if you're chronically stressed and you try to get fasting in and you're wanting to get results from it, a lot of times you just don't get the results you were hoping to receive from fasting anyway. Now let's talk about medication. 2 main medications that I see people want to fast with, and this is something you have to watch out for. The first is going to be blood sugar. And the reason for this, and it's such a problem, is because most people who are fasting are doing it because they have blood sugar problems. If you're on a blood sugar medication, well, when you start fasting and it drops your blood sugar down and then you're taking a blood sugar medication, common sense tells us there's a problem there. Your blood sugar is going to go into a hypoglycemic state. You're going to get dizzy. You're going to get nauseous. You're not going to feel well. Problematic, okay? So we got to be careful for that. And then blood pressure is another big one, because when you're fasting drops your blood pressure. Combine that with a blood pressure medication, common sense tells us what? Our blood pressure is too low. Same thing. Dizziness, fatigue, we want to avoid that. And you should always talk to your doctor and iron out the details if you are on a medication and you want to fast with it. It's just a smart thing to do. Next is heart palpitations. Now this can come from 2 different places, all right? Why would you be getting heart palpitations? What does this mean? One, you could be in this state of chronic stress and fatigue. The other is that you may lack electrolytes. And when you're fasting, it could be one or the other. Now, it's important to make sure that you're getting electrolytes in, and I'll touch on this considering I already touched on the stress and fatigue part of this. Electrolytes are very important for proper heart function and proper heart rhythm. So you want to make sure that you're getting in the salt, the potassium, and all the things that your heart needs in order to function properly. So increase your electrolytes if this is happening. I'll put a link to some electrolytes that I use daily in the description below. Thyroid problems is another thing you want to watch out for. And this is because if you have thyroid imbalances and you're trying to fast and you're putting that extra stress on the thyroid, it can be problematic. First of all, you want to get balance in your thyroid. Second of all, what you want to do once your thyroid is balanced out is that you want to make sure that you approach fasting lightly. You don't want to just like go all in. Hey, I got thyroid problems, it's balanced out, and I'm going to do a 4-day fast. Not a good idea. Start with some intermittent fasting, go slow, make sure that your body reacts properly to it. Now let's talk about what to do if your body no longer reacts to fasting. Here's the case where I see this happen all the time. This is a very common circumstance for those who are fasting a lot. Let's say that you're just like, hey man, I've done 16-8 intermittent fasting for 5 years straight every single day. There's a good chance that your body's not getting a huge benefit from that anymore. If you've done 1 meal a day for a long period of time, if you're doing like 3-day fasts all the time, take a step back from it and really switch it up. I call it metabolic confusion, where you're essentially going to go in and like, hey, some days you're going to fast 16 hours, some days you're going to fast 20 hours. Sometimes you're going to do a 3-day fast, a 48-hour fast, 24-hour fast. Some days you're eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, 3 meals a day. Heck, maybe you even eat 4 meals a day at one point. And what happens when you're just basically creating all these crazy patterns in your body? You're going to find that your metabolism's always guessing. So it's like we have that metabolic confusion happening. And when your body is constantly working to figure that out, that's when you'll get some of your best results. So for me, like I'll do 16-8 a few days a week. I'll do 1 meal a day at one point throughout the week. I'll throw in a 24-hour fast, 3-day fast, and I really change it up a lot. I don't ever pattern myself. Long time ago when I started fasting, I would do like straight 16-8, and then it's like, hey, I don't really see that this is doing a lot for me. So then this is where I learned the concept of like, hey, if you're switching it up regularly, you're going to get best results. And there's times where I just take a complete break from fasting and don't do any at all. So do what's right for you too. This is important. Like we hear all the time of like, whether it's what I'm doing or what someone else is doing on the internet. At the end of the day, do what's right for you, because the best health strategy that you can implement is the one that you can use for a lifetime comfortably. Whatever it is, you work on figuring that out for you, because your health really depends on your schedule, what you can establish for a healthy lifestyle long term, and that's how you get best results. I'm Dr. Nick Zyrowski. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. Give the video a thumbs up and check out this video next.